Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John Gertler, and welcome to the 2000 Wall of Fame induction ceremonies. At this time, I would like to introduce some very special guests. First, Mr. Kevin Forzek and Mr. Joseph Russell. In addition, we'd also like to recognize members of the Bills alumni. Gentlemen, thank you. Today we have the privilege of honoring two gentlemen who, in very different ways, have made themselves an important part of the Bills family. Because of these contributions, we are honoring them with the most illustrious Buffalo Bills Award, a spot on the Wall of Fame. At this time, I would like to direct your attention to the Buffalo Bills helmet and introduce the Kalsu family. First, Mrs. Jan Kalsu McLaughlin and Bob McLaughlin. Rrobert Kalsu Jr. and Jenny Kalsu, Jill and Steve Horning, Mrs. Lee Kalsu, and the rest of the Kalsu family. Now, please direct your attention to the video screen for a very special video tribute.
In 1968, Bob Kalsu was an 8th-round draft pick who came to the Buffalo Bills with a young wife, a baby daughter, and an endearing personality.
He was the type of guy always had a smile on his face. You know, he was there always to talk to if you had, let's say, a tough day or things weren't exactly right. Through your journeys in life, you know, you meet a lot of characters, but you remember this guy for the character.
But in the days that followed a successful rookie season, Bob Kalsu faced a question of character few athletes of his era ever had to answer. He was called on to serve his country.
I'm sure when he took ROTC, he didn't think of Vietnam or anything like that, but he just said, Jan, I'm no different than anyone else. And he said, you know, when they call me up to go, I'm going to go. There wasn't any what if in Bob's character.
He was my first lieutenant, 101st Airborne Division, 2nd 11th Artillery. He always was in control of things, but he didn't need to be mean and real aggressive to have that control. He had a lot of respect, and I liked him. There's a lot of officers I didn't like, but Lieutenant Kalsu was a different guy.
In the spring of 1970, Bob Kalsu reunited with his family. When he returned to Vietnam, he recorded a poignant message for his pregnant wife.
Jan, I love and miss you very much. Think about you all the time. And you too, Jill. And also you, baby Kay, even though you're not born yet.
My last letter that I received from him talks about that the North Vietnamese are all around us and we're in heavy mortar area.
At times it was just so much that you couldn't be out. There was mortar rounds and rockets coming in everywhere. I had taken a piece of shrapnel in my hand, and he come down and checked on me. Lieutenant Kalsu told me I could get off the hill if I wanted to. And I noticed that he had a bandage on his left shoulder where he had been nicked by shrapnel. And I thought if he's staying, then I'm staying.
2 days later in Oklahoma City, Rrobert Kalsu Jr. was born.
I knew Bob was just going to be so excited that he had a son to go with our daughter. Then my doctor comes in, and he says, Jan, he said, there's going to be a soldier who's going to come talk to you. And I knew then, but I just said, Bob's been killed, hasn't he? And he just, anyway, he just held me close to him. And the soldier came in, and, you know, of course, they have to say it officially, I'm sorry to inform you your husband, First Lieutenant James Rrobert Kalsu, was killed in battle. And I remember, you know, because you don't think, I remember grabbing a hold of Jill and saying, Daddy's gone, you know. If they weren't going to have their dad with them, I wanted them to have as much as they could of him in their heart. Keeping him alive to them also kept alive his values. And letting the children know that in order to get through this life, you have to have a strong faith value.
As they grew up, Bob and Jill Kalsu learned about their father. They were often reminded that he was the only professional football player to die in Vietnam. But other details of his life were not so accurately reported. And for 29 years, that has caused much pain and anguish.
What I've been told was that my father was killed by shrapnel when the Mel helicopter was landing. And I think I take on a lot of the guilt for his death, for his dying, because you know, I always think, I always thought he was running out to see if he got letters saying I was born yet. You know, so growing up, I always wondered if I was the reason why he died.
I heard this, you know, the story where he was running to a helicopter to get a letter. And I mean, that was the farthest thing from the actual truth. And I didn't know why, you know, I figured the Army would tell him just how it happened. But it was so mixed up, this terrible explosion came right in back of him. And I got up and guys were coming out of one of these bunkers that they'd seek shelter in. I didn't quite get the drift of what had happened yet. I guess I hit my head harder than I thought. But then somebody said that Lieutenant Kalsu had been killed. But I'll tell you what, Lieutenant Kalsu did his job. I guess he just didn't hide like guys would hide and because of being scared or something. He was a leader. He was the kind of guy that was checking on people, and he got killed doing it. Evidently, they haven't known, and I hope that this will be a healing for them to finally know the truth that they should have known a long time. What he represented, I think I've drawn on that, and I guess through my life, I didn't want to kind of let him down. I was really proud to know him. I'm proud to serve under him.
The family has recently learned the true story of Bob Kalsu's last minutes at Firebase Ripcord. While there's finally been closure on how he departed from the earth, there's never been any doubt about his spiritual presence in their lives. In that regard, Bob Kalsu has never died.
At the wedding, I truly believe my father was there. It goes back to, I think some of the hardest thing may have been on my father because he's missed out also on being that father and getting to see his children marry and getting to hold his grandchildren.
My brother came to me at the reception and he said to me, Jill, you're not going to believe this, but during your wedding, Dad came to me and talked to me. I didn't see him, but I could hear him, and in my ear he said, I'm here at the wedding, and all I wanted to do was dance with Jill for her first dance at the wedding, and I'm not going to be able to do it, so I want you to dance for her with me. And I remember us holding each other, sobbing together, and it was one of the best memories I have, because it was something that united my brother and me.
As it was coming closer to an end, I saw my dad sitting in the chair. Everyone always relays stories about his big laugh, his big smile, and you know, he was sitting there with a big smile. You know, proud of my sister and proud of me for, you know, getting this far.
And he'd be proud, too, of how they have carried on the legacy of love and caring that defined his character.
Oh, your dad loves you. You want to get that, don't you?
First, Dan, let me tell you how much I love you and miss you. And Jill, since you've been jabbering and everything, you're really getting to be a big girl. And baby Kay, you keep her growing. You'll be a healthy little one. And Daddy loves you too. Just keep her growing and be a healthy thing.
Hello, I'm General Colin Powell, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I'm pleased to join you today in honoring the memory of Rrobert Kalsu. Rrobert Kalsu was an American patriot who gave all he had, both on the football field and in the service of his country in Vietnam, where he was killed in action defending freedom. He was an outstanding player and an outstanding soldier. He was an All-American in every sense of the word. It is fitting to honor and to perpetuate his memory by adding his name to the Buffalo Bills Wall of Fame. America owes a great debt to all those who died to keep us free. And there is only one way that debt can be repaid, if indeed it can ever be repaid, and that is by cherishing the country they died for. It is by each of us doing our part to make America a little more just, a little more caring, a little more enlightened, a little more hopeful, and a little more worthy of our heroes. If we can do that, then brave and selfless men like Rrobert Kalsu will not have died in vain. Thank you all very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, here now, the President of the Buffalo Bills, Mr. Ralph C. Wilson, Jr.
Thank you. It's a great honor for me to be here today on this historic weekend in America, to be able to enshrine a former Bills player who, along with tens of thousands of other men and women, represented this country throughout the years. He played for the Buffalo Bills. As many of you know, he was the only National Football League player killed in action in Vietnam. His number was 61. He was voted the outstanding rookie on the Bills' 1968 team. His widow, Jan Kalsu McLaughlin, and her children, family, and friends are here today. They've come up from Oklahoma for you to welcome them, and I hope applaud them. So it's a real special for me to present to Jan, on behalf of her late husband, a ring for the Wall of Fame in the stadium, which is the highest honor that the Buffalo Bills can give to one of their players and people. Jan, would you please come up?
There they are, Mr. Wilson.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the Wall of Fame for the official unveiling.
Over on the left is the unveiling of Bob's name.
On behalf of all of Bob's family, I want to thank everyone who made this wonderful and outstanding tribute possible. I especially want to thank Mr. Ralph Wilson Jr. and the voting committee, Pete and Kathy Knaus, Sandy Marzullo, all the Buffalo Bills boosters, and Bill's organization. Above all, thank you, Buffalo Bill fans, for always keeping Bob's memory close to your hearts. For those of you who are veterans or who have lost loved ones on the battlefields of war, may Bob's name on this Wall of Fame represent all of our nation's brave heroes. Thank you very much.
Jan, I want to also present to you this necklace, which I understand you're going to give to your daughter. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Congratulations to the entire Kalsu family.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as we welcome today's color guard, represented by the same division that Bob Kalsu fought with in the Vietnam War, the 82nd Airborne Division Association, Niagara Frontier Chapter. At this time, we would like to observe a moment of silence for all those killed while serving our country.
How long you want to...
Thank you. Now to honor America, please remain standing as our national anthem is sung by Heidi Giberson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the Rockies echo the balls bursting in gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Bob Kalsu was born in Del City, Oklahoma. There he attended Townsend Elementary, Kerr Junior High, and graduated from Del City High School in 1963. Bob attended the University of Oklahoma, where he was a two-time All-America tackle and graduated in 1968. That same year, Bob Kalsu was an 8th-round draft pick by the Buffalo Bills. Bob proudly wore number 61, in which he started 8 games for the Buffalo Bills as a guard. He was voted the team's Rookie of the Year. Following the 68 season, Kalsu began fulfilling his ROTC obligations with the United States Army. He started his tour of duty in Vietnam in November of 1969 and was killed by mortar fire on July 21st, 1970. Bob Kalsu was the only professional athlete killed in the line of duty defending his country. He was one of 18 from Del City killed in Vietnam.